I am streaming live, answering your questions, going around to your boroughs, talking about your issues. When was the last time you saw a politician do that? Never. When was the last time you saw the current mayor do that? Never, because they like to be protected. They don't really want to deal with the problems. When I'm the next mayor of London, I'll be doing these broadcasts on a regular basis. If Sadiq Khan won't deliver it, then he should step aside for someone who can. We need a mayor that listens to the citizens. We need a mayor that gets out of his top floor office in City Hall with his balcony and gets out here into the boroughs like Lambeth and gets out there into Tower Hamlets and Hackney and Barking and Dagenham like I have and finds out what's going on with you. What are you struggling with? And let's have a real conversation in real time. No hiding behind press releases. No hiding behind prepared statements that we see our politicians do. I'm here on the ground talking to you live. The only reason I'm running for mayor is because I can't sit by and watch this current crop of politicians run the city I love into the ground. And that's what's happening right now. And that's why I'm putting my business on hold, my broadcasting channel on hold, my family on hold, my personal life on hold for the next 3 years to be your next mayor of London, because I care about this city. This city has given me everything. I've been here 20 years. I've been a British citizen for 14 years. My children were born here, and I plan to be buried in this city.
One, two, three. Listen.
Welcome to the Brian for Mayor Digital Battle Bus. Welcome to Battle Bus Live. I am Brian Rose, and we are here live right now on the Brian for Mayor Digital Battle Bus. I'm super excited. Today we are touring the borough of Lambeth, and what you see behind me is not a green screen. We are literally in Lambeth. You'll be seeing a bunch of landmarks coming by. And I think that it's important for me to go to every single one of the 32 boroughs in this city to find out what's going on with you on the ground. Every borough has its unique challenges, and you need a leader that can get out there and find out what's going on with you. And today I want to talk about some of the challenges facing London and also facing you here in the borough of Lambeth. So I'm super excited. If you don't know much about Lambeth, if you're coming in from other places in the UK or maybe even from America or Asia, Lambeth is a home to incredible landmarks like the London Eye, like the Imperial War Museum. I remember my first visit there to see the V-2 bombers and the tanks. It's amazing. It's home to the South Bank Centre, the London Aquarium, Brixton, incredible cultural hub, and of course Clapham as well. I've got friends in all of those places. So just want to say thank you, Lambeth, for having us. We appreciate you being here. But let's be honest, we were almost not here today because on Sunday at 10:49 a.m. when we were touring the borough of Southwark, we were stopped and surrounded by 10 police officers from the City of London Police that showed up in 5 police vans, and they detained me, they fined me, and they banned me from campaigning to be your next mayor of London. And we thought this was unfair. We were following the letter of the law. We were filming and campaigning in a COVID secure way. We had permits. We had approval by the council to be there. When they stopped me, I was literally filming a video to my phone. As much as you see, I was literally holding the phone out, and they stopped me. And we think that they were incorrect, which is why we sent this 5-page letter to the 3 major police commissioners here. And I've just posted this on my Instagram feed if you want to look at it. Our entire legal team has gone through the regulations, and right now we believe we are following to the letter of the law the restrictions around COVID, around the regulations. And that's why we are back out here on the road today, because we believe this is important to democracy, to free and fair elections that must take place on May 6th. We're very passionate about this. If you think about it, the current mayor of London has been unelected for the past 1 year because they postponed elections. This sounds a little strange. It sounds like things that are done in other oppressive countries, and I think we must have free and fair elections, which means all parties must be allowed to campaign, and we encourage all parties to join us, from Conservative to Labour to Lib Dems to Green parties, to join us and get out there and campaign, of course, in a COVID secure manner. By the way, welcome to the Digital Battle Bus. This is an incredible piece of technology, and it's 100% COVID secured. Every night, this entire structure is hit with antiviral fog. Everyone walking in the door is temperature checked. Hand sanitizer is used. We've got all the protocols, social distancing, And this is basically the same setup that's being used right now in the city of London to film video production. Something's happening with Apple TV right now over by Buckingham Palace. You'll see the production vans, and they are using the same protocols that we're using. So that's why we're curious why we can't be allowed to do the same thing. And that's what this letter is all about. And we've got one response so far from one of the commissioners that they've received our letter, and that's why we are proceeding today. Now, yesterday, our bus was stopped. It was pulled over by the Metropolitan Police, a different police force, which proves to me that this is a coordinated attack. And again, this feels very political to me. And when I brought that up, as you probably saw from the raw footage I posted on YouTube, one of the officers from the City of London got very irate with me and said, no, this isn't political. Let's not talk about that right now, which makes me really wonder. But you be the judge. You can go watch the footage. The video's gone viral. It's been watched hundreds and hundreds of thousands of times. We got coverage in the BBC, on the Daily Mail, and global coverage for standing up for your democratic right to choose. And that's what we're doing here. We think that democracy should be preserved and that free and fair elections need to go ahead on May 6th here for your next mayor of London. And that's why we're out here on the road. So again, super excited to be in Lambeth. Thank you so much for having us. We got tons of questions from people in Lambeth on our website. And if you want to ask a question for me, go to brianformayor.london/bus and submit your question. I'm going to be actually reading out a bunch of questions today. And whatever platform you're on right now, leave me your comments below because I'm literally going to read them out. And I want you to answer 4 questions for me. The first one is, what borough do you live in? And what question would you like to ask me? So type that in wherever you're at right now. They're going to be literally coming up on my screen here, and I'm going to answer it. Also, give me your honest opinion. Do you think it was right for the police to detain us, to define us, and to ban us from campaigning on Sunday? Do you think that was right? And thirdly, I want you to tell me, do you think that free and fair elections should be allowed to take place on May 6th and the parties should be allowed to campaign, of course, in a COVID-secure manner? And the last question is, do you think we need new leadership for London, new ideas, and we've got to take this city in a new direction? So thank you for those comments. Again, if you don't exercise your choice on May 6th, you're going to get 3 more years of the same thing, and I don't think anybody wants that. So I'm going to go to your questions now and find out what's going on. But before we do that, I want to talk about 3 very important issues. The first is knife crime here in London. It's at nightmare proportions. Second, I want to talk about our education system, especially here in Lambeth. The lack of access to technology of students in Lambeth is making this whole concept of digital learning impossible, really, and impractical, and it hits the lower income areas the worst because they don't necessarily have a spare laptop where they can get on Zoom with their classmates. I want to talk about that and how we need to get our children back to school immediately. And lastly, I want to talk about how can we get London back to work and give our entrepreneurs and businesses and our citizens a roadmap of how we can get this economy started. Again, if we strengthen the economy, we strengthen all things, and that's so very important. So again, I want to get to your questions. First, I want to talk about something very important, and that is that knife crime is at nightmare proportions. And just a couple months ago, there was an article that was posted in the Telegraph that said this, quote, Sadiq Khan criticized for tackling of knife crime as 100th teenager killed during his time of mayor. 100 teenagers killed during the current mayor's time in office. That is unacceptable. And the 2 London boroughs with the highest rate of gun and knife crime are Southwark, which where we were on Sunday, and Lambeth, where I am right now. So this is something that's very important to the citizens of this borough, and I take this very seriously. I did an entire 1-hour piece called Real Deal on my website, and I showed you all the statistics, all of the headlines, and you can see it clearly. Every single year the current mayor has been in power, knife crime has gone up and up and up and up, and he's doing nothing about it. Right here in Lambeth, it's actually been the scene of the most murders in London, 154 from the year 2000 to 2012. It's shocking. We've got to do something about it right now. And an article was written recently about this, and it said of the teenagers that have been killed in Khan's time, 2 of them were 14 years old, and 9 of them were 15 and 16 years old. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and it's just even hard to repeat those facts because it's just unacceptable. And I said this when I was at Tower Hamlets a few weeks ago when I was speaking to the people there. I said, when teenagers are stabbing other teenagers, it's not their fault. It's our fault. We've failed as parents, we've failed as politicians, we've failed as leaders. We've got to find solutions to that. And the article went on to say, quote, Khan said he would reduce crime only for London to witness an epidemic in gang violence, resulting in the senseless deaths of young people and a growth in the culture of criminality. A politician, Ian Duncan Smith, said Sadiq Khan is, quote, a man whose irrelevance is only matched by his incompetence when called upon to make decisions. And another politician said, quote, 100 teenagers have died since Sadiq Khan became mayor. That's 100 mums who can no longer hug their children or see them grow up. And I think about my wife, Mariana. If she had to deal with our teenage daughter being murdered from knife crime, it's just something that's hard to think about. And the article finishes by saying, quote, this is a shocking trend. Knife crime rose by 38% in the year prior to lockdown. Homicides are at an 11-year high, and Sadiq Khan's response is to defund the police by £110 million. And to finish out, the article says, it is a terrible indictment of Sadiq Khan. Londoners deserve a safer, fairer, and more affordable city. If Sadiq Khan won't deliver it, then he should step aside for someone who can, unquote. And I really appreciate the thoughts of that article, and I think it really resonates. And again, I think we're done with the talking, the explanation. There's always a blame. The current mayor is always pointing the finger at someone else. It's time to take responsibility and to take action. And I have real strong policies when it comes to tackling the knife crime in this city. We need to get more police on the ground, period. We need to better train our police, but we also need to invest in our communities. And that's where a lot of the problem happens, because our teenagers don't have other things that they can do. We need to invest in these communities and community centers, and I've got a whole detailed plan for that on my brianformayor.lund policy page. So now I want to go to your questions and get your thoughts. Again, if you're coming into us late here, answer these questions for me. What borough do you live in, and what question would you like me to ask when I visit? Second of all, do you think it was right for the police to detain us, fine us, and ban us from campaigning in this politically sensitive time? And do you think this is politically motivated? Third, do you think that free and fair elections should be allowed to take place on May 6th? And lastly, do you think we need new leadership and a new vision to take London in a new direction? We got some incredible points here. I want to try to read out as many as possible, but we've got Alexander Holmgren in Marylebone, Westminster, via the website that says, quote, Brian for mayor, keep it up. You're a huge inspiration and are very motivational to many of us. We stand by your side on May 6th. Fingers crossed, rock on. Thank you, Alexander. I really appreciate you so much for that. We've got Landry in Islington that says, quote, what policies will you put in place to help entrepreneurs who have suffered from lockdowns? It's a great question, Landry. My lead policy as your next mayor of London is to get London back to work. We have to find a safe and secure way to get this city functioning again. When you strengthen the economy, you strengthen all things. You strengthen tax revenues, you strengthen our health system, you strengthen our transport system. There are safe ways to get this city back to work. Entrepreneurs need a roadmap out of this. Our government's not delivering on that, and that's one of the main things I will do as your next mayor of London. And again, there's more detailed policies on my website. Thank you very much. I appreciate that comment. I've got Carolyn here in Bromley via the website that says, quote, what do you propose to do to get our young people back into education? Hospitality, which Carol is in, and retail have been severely affected by these lockdowns. Will you open this up as soon as you become mayor to help our economy back on track? Will you open up care homes so our elderly and loved ones can feel love from their families again? I would also like to understand what your proportionate response to this pandemic will be, unquote. Carolyn, I appreciate hard questions. That's why I'm here. Let me talk about some of those. First of all, hospitality sector has been demolished by this lockdown, even though there only represents 3% of COVID transmissions. That doesn't make sense. These venues know how to keep your food safe. They followed all the protocols, and yet they get shut down first. We have to find a way for them to get back in business, our restaurants and our pubs and our cafes. I've talked about focus protection. And because of my show, London Real, that's been going on for 10 years, I've hosted over 1,000 conversations. We've got 500 million views of our programs. I got to sit down with Dr. Martin Kulldorff of Harvard Medical School. He's one of the authors of the Great Barrington Declaration, and he has a theory and a concept of focused protection, where we protect those elderly and vulnerable to this virus, but we get those that are healthy and safe back into work. If you look at the COVID deaths, only 1% of the 70-some, 80-some thousand recorded deaths are actually from people under 50 that are healthy, like me. The majority of death is for those that are elderly or that also have other ailments. So we need to protect those people, and that might mean still restricting some visits in the care homes, Carolyn. until we find out exactly what's going on. But we've got to get the rest of the country back to work, or we're going to have nothing to educate our children with. We're going to have nothing to propel our NHS. We've got to really make hard decisions now, and I believe it's cost versus benefit. The lockdown is actually costing us much, much more than benefit. We just can't see those numbers up front. One professor at Bristol University has said over 500,000 lives are being lost right now just because of the lockdown, because of the economic damage.